All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live stream. Once again, it is Friday night. It is 7 p.m., and we are going to get things underway here. A little bit of a different topic this week. For the most part, we usually, for the most part, always cover maritime history, but I have been making a conscious effort to try and expand to other historical topics besides that. And I mentioned some of you guys will remember not last week, but several weeks ago, I asked if you guys would like to cover this and show you some of the pictures of when I went to Graceland a few years ago, and everybody seemed to be overwhelmingly in favor of it. So here we are tonight. That's what we're going to be talking about. Let's see. We have several people in the chat, and if you are watching this strictly for the Graceland part of this discussion, if you hover over the timeline here on the replay, you will see where that topic starts specifically. But we've got some pretty interesting stuff on our This Week in History segment, so you may want to stick around for that too. But let's start off with our one and only news item for this week. So let me bring up some pictures here. So what we are looking at here, is the USS Cobia, and she is a Gato-class submarine, sister ship to the Cod, to the Cavala, to the Croaker, to the Drum. I'm sure I'm probably missing some, but you get the idea. She is a preserved museum ship, and she is on her way to dry dock. These photos were posted by the Wisconsin Maritime Museum on Facebook. So, like Kidd, Texas, New Jersey, before her, she's going into dry dock for some much needed TLC. And here she is making her way out. And let's see. Here she is under tow. You can see over here, you can see the tugboat right there. That's pulling her. And this is actually, I got this screenshot from their, from the Wisconsin Museum's Facebook page. This is actually a video of her, and you can see her. She's out in sea, probably for the first time in decades. And yeah, there she is on her way to dry dock. Hopefully at some point we can get someone from that museum on, and they can enlighten us about what's going on with the Cobia. She has made it to dry dock, and you can see here she is this looks like a floating dry dock. This is pretty much what Kidd is in right now. Texas was in a floating dry dock as well. And that's what this looks like here. You zoom up on her bow or her hull is covered in what I believe is mussels. Yeah, cool picture indeed. And let's see, let's get another view of her. Here's a nice view of her as well. And you can see here all this stuff here on the hull. That's all mussels. And if we go to the next picture, this is a close-up shot of what's on the hull, and you can see it. It's all mussels that have grown on the hull. Tons and tons of weight. Absolutely. I can't imagine how much weight that actually adds to the vessel. Let's go back to the previous picture. You can see I'm guessing this is the water line right here. Well, maybe right here. And you can see just how much, and she's covered from stem to stern in these things. So I'd imagine one of the first things you're going to do is clean all that stuff off. But yeah, they were saying some of them are zebra mussels, and there's a different kind of mussel as well. I don't remember what the other ones were. So let's send our best wishes to the cobia. Hope she has a great dry docking. Speaking of dry dockings, Kid is also, as we know, still in dry dock. She is nearing the finish line. Last I heard, she was ahead of schedule, so maybe October, November, Kid might be coming out of dry dock. You can scrap or use high pressure water. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I'd be interested to know. Hopefully, they will post on their Facebook page and give us, as the updates come out, and give us some information as to how that's going to work. So that is, like I said, that's our only news item for this week, but we've got a lot of this week in history. So let's start with our segment for this week in history. And let me pull up my notes here. That way I relay Ozzy with the potatoes, of course. I'm sure Cobia has a spud logger, Ozzy. So let's see. September 8th, 1429, Joan of Arc attacked Paris. And that's who we are looking at here, Joan of Arc. Next thing is also from September 8th. If I can get to the next image. This is an image that should look familiar to all of us. Gotta make Ozzy a potato cannon. So, September 8th, 1960, Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock and based on real-life serial killer Ed Gein, was released in theaters. And to think, this movie shocked people back in 1960. In today's world, this is like PG content. I mean, how we've come a long way. Does anybody watch Psycho every year for Halloween? Like throughout October, there are some traditions where you watch certain TV shows, you watch certain movies. Is Psycho on your list? Admittedly, I've not seen Psycho in a few years. So let's move on. Her daughter became the new queen from the Halloween movie. Yes, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. All right, here we go. Here's another one. September 8th, 1966, the very first ever episode of Star Trek premiered. Now, I could do it better with this hand right there. Live long and prosper. Let's see. what is next on our agenda? Yes. September 8th, 1974, Richard Nixon, who had resigned the U.S. presidency on August 8th, 1974, was pardoned by his successor, Gerald Ford. Nixon is the only president to date, excuse me, Nixon is the only president to date who has ever resigned the presidency. Tricky, right? Okay, now let's see. Yes, September 9th. Let's see. September 9th, 1998, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, was formed and setting the stage for the Korean War. As I understand it, technically, the Korean War never ended. There was an armistice signed. I could be wrong, but I seem to remember reading about that, even as far back as in like elementary school or something, that the war was technically not over. Let's see what is next. Yes. So, is that next? I don't think that's next. I think I got my stuff out of order here. Hang on a second. Nope. I had it right. Let's see. Here we go. One of our main topic of discussion for tonight. Here we go. September 9th, 1956. Elvis makes his first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. Of course, we know does the North Koreans still have a U.S. Navy ship? I do not know for sure on that, Ozzy. And going back to Richard Nixon, Ozzy, so that's why Ford wasn't reelected because of the pardon. Let's see. What is next in our list? Yes. So, September 10th, 1955, Gunsmoke began airing on CBS. And by the time it ended in 1975, the series was the longest running Western on American television. Did anybody watch Gunsmoke? I was not a big Gunsmoke fan, but my grandpa was a huge Gunsmoke fan. When Gunsmoke was on the TV, rest assured that's what he was watching. And if you didn't want to watch that, you either you went outside and play, or you went in another room. Didn't interrupt Grandpa when he was watching Gunsmoke. Let's see what is. Yes. So September 11th, 2001. I've been thinking for the longest time how I could do a live stream about 9/11, but do it justice. And I've come to one conclusion for a way I can do that. I can't do this by myself because I can talk about what I remember from that day because I still remember it very clearly. But that would take me a whole 2 minutes to run through that. I can tell you what I remember about that day and, what was going through my mind and throughout the day. But that's really where it ends. I think the only way I can really address this topic properly would be to get a historian or a college professor or an author, someone who's done extensive research, and we have to discuss it from the historical perspective. because again, if I just all I can tell you is about my memory. Honestly, I was asleep when 9/11 happened. When the attacks happened, I was asleep. So me trying to do a whole episode for it by myself is not going to do it justice, not the justice that it deserves. But I know a lot of us here, most of us, if not all of us, we remember that day, and it's the Pearl Harbor of our generation. For those of us that remember it. I mean, I don't know what other way you can describe it. Pearl Harbor of our generation. Anna, welcome. Better late than never. That's okay. You'll have to go back and catch some of the This Week in History that you missed, but there's still more to come. So again, that's the best way I can think of to cover that topic. And maybe next year I can figure out a way. Oh, Age Forgotten's back too. Okay, welcome. Well, let's move on to a lighter topic for This Week in History. September 12th, 1959, Bonanza debuts. Bonanza premiered on NBC, and it became one of the longest running Westerns in broadcast history. Now, I was a fan of Bonanza. I was not a big fan of Gunsmoke, but I love me some Bonanza. I didn't realize I was like a sick kid. No worries. You're good. Better late than never. Mark Bonanza, another favorite. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Bonanza. I remember on I don't know if Roku still has it, but they actually had a Bonanza channel where it was just nothing but Bonanza 24/7. And I'd watch that for a few hours at a time every now and then. Let's see what is next. Oh yeah. Dan Blocker. Yep, Big Hoss right there. And of course, Lorne Green. Lorne Green was also in the original version of Battlestar Galactica. He was Adama. Then you've got, of course, Little Joe right here, and this was it Bill? Was it Parnell Roberts? That was his name. Bonanza bloopers are hilarious. I don't think I've ever seen any bloopers for Bonanza. But if you want fun and goofy, here we go. September 12th, 1966, The Monkees premiered on TV. And I still to this day am a big fan of The Monkees. So we've got here at the bottom, we got Davy Jones, we got Peter Tork, we've got Michael Naismith and Mickey Dolenz over here. Skip, hey, yep. Hey, we're the Monkees. Yep, I'm a big fan. For those of us who are around a lot of us are around the same age here. A lot of us are Gen X here. And you remember when we were kids in the 80s, Nick at Night started running reruns of the Monkees. And I became a fan of the Monkees, the TV show, the music. For those of you who watched, what was your favorite Monkees song, and what was your favorite? Which one of the Monkees was your favorite? Of course, unfortunately, we only have one of the Monkees left. There's only one of them left. And by the way, speaking of that, I think it was yesterday or day before, a person by the name of Polly Holiday passed away. And she was, for those of you who remember the old TV show from the 70s and 80s, Alice. She played Florence Jean Castleberry on Alice. And you remember she had the catchphrase. She go, "Meow, what? Get my grits." And for some reason, everybody thought that was the most hilarious thing they ever heard. She was also Mrs. Deagle in Gremlins. Let's see. Daydream Believer. That's probably my favorite song, too. Um, so, like I said, only one of them is left with us, sadly. Davy Jones was the first to pass away. Um, Peter Tork was the second one to pass away. Michael Naismith was the third. And Mickey Dolenz over here is the last surviving member of the Monkees. Let's see. Did anything happen in the 90s? Well, a lot of things happened in the 90s, but I mean, you need to be a little bit more specific. Let's see. What is our next one? Our last one for this week in history on September 12th, 2003. We lost the man in black. Johnny Cash passed away on this day in 2003 at the age of 71. And yeah, Kiss My Grits. I'll never forget that show. That show was great. Oh, man, by the way, and I was all up in my feelings last night and today. I was listening to some Ozzy, of course. She wasn't the original Gremlins. Yeah, well, she was only in the original Gremlins. She was Mrs. Deagle. So if you go back and look on YouTube for Mrs. Deagle and Gremlins, that's Polly Holiday, Florence Jean Castleberry. So yeah, unfortunately, I brought that up because everyone in the cast of Alice is now gone. Linda Lavin, who played Alice, passed away last year, making Polly Holiday the last survivor. So anyway, that concludes our This Week in History, and we are going to transition into our main topic for the evening. I think that's how I'm going to close out the show this week. You know, when it comes time, and and you guys know the drill, kiss my grits. Let's see. Let's get into our main topic. Just got to pull up the pictures here. So again, a few years ago, we had a big family vacation. Well, I say vacation, but it was only a few days. We went out to Graceland, and it was my first time there. Yep, been there, got the T-shirt, all of that. Let's see. So let me pull up the pictures here. And here we go. This is outside the gates. Or almost became president. So this is outside the gates from where you come into the main entrance. And you can see the plane here. This plane is the Lisa Marie. And you can see Elvis had that little TCB logo right there, taking care of business. Let's see. And you do get to tour the planes, by the way. Yep, Skip got a TCB, taking care of business. So this here, the way it's set up is Graceland, the house is actually across the street from what you're seeing right here. All of these exhibits are in multiple buildings. It's almost like a complete little mini city block right here with nothing but exhibits, with his gold records, his cars. This is where you access his planes from here. There's a couple of restaurants. And you can see, let's zoom in a little bit. See, Hollywood Backlot, Memphis Barbecue. There is two restaurants in this section of Graceland. And there was a burger shop and there was another place. Everyone went to the burger shop, but I wanted to try Memphis barbecue. So I went and to where they served the barbecue, and I had some Memphis barbecue, and it was decent. And Gen X is the awesome. Let's see, Elvis Entertainer. And then let's see, I think over here, there's an exhibit called Growing Up Presley. and it's about Priscilla's, going from to your childhood to adulthood. And I believe that exhibit is here. And inside of this one, if I remember correctly, there's like a little mini theater in here. And this is where you can see like a lot of his the jumpsuits he wore later in his career, like when he was in Vegas, his gold records, all that stuff. And to the left, a lot of his cars are in this section here. So that's what you're looking at here. And yeah, here we go. Look at that. We can see it better here. Lisa Marie, growing up Presley. So a lot of artifacts from Lisa Marie's life you will find in that exhibit. And if we move on, I believe this was in that same exhibit. As you can see, this is actually not in the house. This is just a recreation. Christmas at Graceland. Now, I do not know if these artifacts originally came out of the house or not, or if this was like in a studio. But I really do want to go back in December because I want to see the house all decorated up for Christmas. Now, let's move on. Memphis Record. Yeah, this is like a recreation of a recording studio. I'm assuming that it was like a recreation of one that Elvis probably recorded in. Of course, I don't remember exactly. Now, if we move on, see, this is more inside that studio. And I'd imagine these are probably like real artifacts since they're roped off. They don't want you touching this stuff. Look at that. Did anybody watch the movie that came out a few years ago with Austin Butler as Elvis? Because that was actually a really good movie. Yep, you had more of a recording studio. Original stuff, probably. Yeah, I think it is too. So the original series of Star Trek, Sulu, Chekhov, and Kirk are the only three left. Yes, I did know that. Let's see. Yeah, it's it from another angle. This would be like the lobby. And again, from another angle. How about this? State of Mississippi, Mississippi State Department of Health Vital Records Standard Certificate of Birth. Full name of child, Elvis Aaron Presley. Father, Vernon Presley. Mother, Gladys Smith. I've seen one of those ashtrays in years. So yeah, he made his home in Memphis, but Elvis was indeed born in Mississippi. Tupelo, Mississippi, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Where was? No, not Elon Musk. Elvis. Where was Elvis born? Yes, Elvis was born in Tupelo. And let's see. Yeah, now this I never quite understood, and maybe I was just kind of browsing through and I didn't stop to read the section. Yeah, he had a twin, but his twin passed. That is correct. And from what I remember, that's why him and his mom developed like this super strong emotional bond because he was the one that survived. But yeah, I don't remember why they have a replica of a Super Bowl trophy in here. It's escaping me. And I would have made obviously something sports related because it looks like it looks like he's in some sort of sports uniform right here. You may probably on a team or something. I don't remember reading into too much about the sports when I was there. Excuse me. Now this is from the growing up Lisa Marie exhibit. You can, because if we zoom in here, Lisa's record player and 45s from her personal record collection. You've seen the Elvis movie with Austin Butler, good movie. I really enjoyed the movie. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you might want to put that on your watch list because it's worth it. So you have some little baby pictures of Lisa Marie. And that one right there. And this would be outside. So what you're looking at here. So if you remember, I explained that the actual house is across the street from all of these other exhibits. And if you look, that's what we're looking at here. It may be the Elvis and his love of football exhibit, a replica Lombardi trophy, according to Dr. Google. Okay. So if you're, this is the driveway coming up to the house. And you can see there's a stone fence right here. The street runs between the house and the rest of those buildings that we were just looking at. So what they do is you have to pay extra if you want to do the house tour. But I mean, if you're going to Graceland, it would be kind of stupid to not do the house tour. So of course we did it. We wanted to go inside the house. And this is, we are at the front steps of the house facing towards the street from here. That's the view you're seeing. Now the next one here, there's the house. So I'm probably standing in the same spot facing the other way from the previous picture. Yep. And the house is really not that big, not as big as I thought it was going to be. So let's get a couple more glimpses. That's one thing reasons I never ever did a video about this trip is because flash photography is forbidden anywhere. You know, the house and the other exhibits, and video is forbidden as well. You can only, you can take phone pictures, and that's pretty much it. So that's why I never did a video about this stuff. And it doesn't look as big as I imagine. It's really not that big, Anna. But yeah, they're standing facing the front of the house. And let's see. Graceland has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior, built 1939. And I do have a couple of pictures inside. Let's see. Now, when you go in the house, you cannot go upstairs at all. They do not let you go upstairs. You can only tour the downstairs area of the house. And it's not it's not a guided tour, but as in you don't have a tour guide with you, but there's a very path. There's a path that you have to follow, and you cannot deviate anyway off this path. So you're some of the rooms are completely roped off. Like this one, you cannot go in this room. They had a barricade here at the bottom, so you cannot go in the room, and that's kind of how you do. You, like I said, you have a pathway that you follow throughout the house. Now, they do give you essentially what looks like an iPad and some headphones. And when you get to certain points in the house, you push play, and on this iPad looking thing, you've got audio and video, and they're telling you stories about that part of what may have happened in that part of the house, and some of the things that are in that room. Let's see. Understand what Michigan users like that. Some YouTubers, some YouTube. Okay, actually, I want to highlight this because this is an extremely relevant comment to my channel here. So, Age says, understandable, even in Michigan, some museums are like that. Some YouTubers take it personally, but I personally take it well because there may be a big picture as to why they're doing this. Well, and here's my take on this. So as you guys are well aware, I go to a lot of museums. I take a lot of photo. I take a lot of video. Um, as far as I am aware, I have never broken anyone's rules about no photo and video. I always ask, is photo and video allowed? Most of the time, the ones I go to, they encourage it. For example, when I went to the Maritime Museum of the Gulf in Mobile, I bought my ticket. I said, and I asked them, as I always do you allow photo and video? And she flat out said, we encourage it. You know, record all you want, share all you want. Whereas with Graceland, they don't want that, and I will always do my best to try and respect that. In the end, it's their business, it's their property. Yes, you are a tourist, you're paying them money, but you still need to be respectful of their property. So that's my take on that. Let's see. So let's move on. That's just a different view of the same room. Another view of the same room. And here you can see that there's the upstairs is blocked off. No one can go upstairs. And I took a bunch of photos at the museum in Mobile. Oh yeah, me too. Well, I'm sure you probably saw the video. I believe this was his mother's bedroom, if I remember correctly. Too much white. I'd be afraid to touch anything. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this was his mom's bedroom. Look at an old TV. Recently encouraged to share and promote recent visits to encourage others to visit these places. Yeah, well, and a lot of people, a lot of museums see it as free advertising. You know, but I guess when you're Graceland, you really don't need free advertising because, as they will tell you, there is only one. Speaking strictly in terms of houses, here's a trivia question for you guys. There is only one house in the country that gets more tourists than Graceland. Can anybody tell me the name of that house? Just a nerd. Welcome. This was one of my favorite trips. Yeah, we loved this trip. This was a big family trip, and we thoroughly enjoyed this. We had a great time. And Skip, you are correct. The only house in the United States that is visited more than Graceland is the White House. Skip is correct. So let's see. Let's move on. Again, just different angles of the same room. No, Anna, not the Lizzie Borden house. Maybe during October, I would go to the Lizzie Borden house. If you guessed 50-50, well, hey, You had a 50-50 shot, and you guessed correctly. So there you go. And look here, you can see, they've got the little the things roping off the rooms. So essentially you're pretty much confined to like hallways, and you can stop and look in the room, you get your photos and you move on. That's essentially how it works. I think we're coming up to what they call the jungle room. Yeah, this is the jungle room because of the interesting decorations here you can see over here in that corner. Do it, go to the Lizzie Borden. I would absolutely go to the Lizzie Borden house. For those of you who have known me long enough, know that the one thing that can rival my love of maritime history is my love of horror related things, horror movies, horror games, horror comics, horror books, anything horror related. What was my favorite spot in the house? We're actually coming up to it, just a nerd. We got a couple of more photos and we're going to get to my favorite spot. The house that was Buffalo Bill's house in Silence of the Lambs is now available to rent or tour. Oh, cool. This is my favorite room right here. The pool room or the billiard room, whatever you want to call it. Please do not touch, as you can see. Once again, it is roped off. But yeah, this was probably my favorite room in the whole house. Such an interesting decoration. Not that often you see the ceiling and the walls are in the same decor. All right, let's see. That's more of the jungle room. And you can see if you look here to the left, there you can see like what I was talking about with a hallway. You can glance through the rooms, but you can't actually go in them. Can I zoom in on the walls? Let's see. It's kind of hard to see. It's mostly just like wood paneling is what it looks like right here. Your favorite spot was probably the basement. Here we go. So here's more of the wall. The jungle room is smaller than you thought. Like I said, the house as a whole is smaller than what you would think it is. All right, so yeah, here we go. You exit out the house eventually, and you start making your way like through the backyard and towards the graves. So let's see. There are, of course, more exhibits in here and in that building there. Let's see if I can. Here's a replica of Elvis's birthplace, the house he was born in. A scale model of the tiny shotgun house in Tupelo, where Elvis Presley was born on January 8th, 1935. Here, the Presleys lived a simple, working class lifestyle in search of a better life. The Presleys moved from Tupelo, Mississippi to Memphis in 1948. Just in there, I wish we could go upstairs. Oh, absolutely. But I don't think that they're ever going to allow that. So here's a front view of what their house would have looked like in Tupelo. And there is a Elvis Museum in Tupelo as well, which is on my bucket list. Someday I'm going to get out there to that museum as well. So this is not in the house anymore. This is like one of these other buildings as you're making your way towards the graves. Swimming pool. Upstairs, like Elvis never left. And we're approaching their graves. Let's see. So here's his mom. So she passed away in 1958. And next over is his dad. Passed away in 1979. This gets me there. Yeah, there there were lots of emotion when you get to this part of the tour. As you would expect. Just in there. Do you have a favorite Elvis song, or is it hard to decide? No, I can tell you definitively. My favorite song from Elvis is "If I Can Dream." That's a question for you guys. What is your favorite Elvis song? Same. Kindred spirits, my man. Kindred spirits. Even in pictures. Absolutely. Skips. I like blue suede shoes because I can sing. I love to sing. I just don't know how. Either In the Ghetto or Suspicious Minds. Well, and those would be, if I had to pick a top five, those two would also be in my top five. I'm also a big fan of his rendition of Unchained Melody, and of course there's Elvis's grave. And on to on to more happy stuff because I ain't gonna lie, we needed to get through that. Let's see. So here is a bunch of his cars. Not all of them, but a good bit of them. The key to happiness is the keys to a Rolls Royce. Did he and his dad both die in 79? No, Elvis died in 77. Ah, yes. And I love that they have pictures of him with the cars because it kind of, I don't know about you, but it kind of gives it more of that connection for me to like, okay, somebody tells me, okay, well, this was Elvis's car, but when you actually have a picture of him with the car and you're looking at the car and you're like, 5 feet away from it, I don't know, that connects you more with it, at least in my opinion. Let's see. An interesting looking car. I do not know what kind of car this is. Your favorite is the purple Cadillac. I don't know if I have a favorite one of his cars. Of course, that one right there is there's the thumbnail. Well, no, actually, that's the thumbnail for this week. Same with if it were to say the Bonnie and Clyde car. Well, the Bonnie and Clyde car still exists. I believe it's in a museum in Nevada somewhere. This might be my favorite Elvis car. Elvis had a Ferrari. Let's see, a Ferrari Dino GT4. That's probably my favorite Elvis car. I know that he's probably more, of course, well known for the Cadillac and all that stuff, but I think that probably be my favorite car, at least from the ones we're looking at. Of course, 1956 Continental Mark II. And let's see. That looks, I think that's a Chevy or a Cadillac. Last I heard, it was in the Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge. I think Bundy's Beetle. Okay. Here we go. So when I was very young, we had a car similar to this. We had a '79 Thunderbird. The color was almost the same, although it was more of a navy blue. This might be a purple. Uh, it was navy blue, and it had a beige top right here. Oh, I'm definitely going to highlight that. I think you set the record for my favorite YouTuber. Well, thank you very much, Just a Nerd. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you found us. I said we most of the time, what I do is like maritime history, but I've been looking to kind of branch out into other history, and that's why I wanted to do this topic here tonight. So, yeah, this is what we do, and I'm really glad you found us. Now, this is an interesting look. This might be a Rolls Royce. I don't know for sure, but I think this might be a Rolls Royce. Your uncle had a red Thunderbird back in the '80s. Doors were heavy. Oh yeah. Well, those things were like tanks back then. You know, if they made the '79 Thunderbird back in 1945, you could forget tanks. Just drive the Thunderbird. You know, on the front lines in Germany. Let's see. That that has got to be a Rolls Royce. That definitely looks like a Rolls Royce to me. In fact, has anybody ever seen the Cannonball Run? I would imagine most of us have seen the Cannonball Run. There's the character the Sheik in the Cannonball Run, played by Jamie Farr of all people. Uh, he portrays a Sheik, and he drives a white Rolls Royce that looks similar to this in the Cannonball Run. Lisa Marie is buried in the same area. Yes. Let's see. Lisa Marie is indeed buried on the grounds near Elvis. There are many of us here, and nerd is our middle name. Oh, we're all nerds about something, you know. As you guys know, we're all, of course, most of us here are pretty probably all ship nerds. Of course, as I've said earlier, I'm a big horror nerd, but I'm a big history nerd in general. As you guys know, I'm also a massive World War II history buff, and I'm going to, like I said, again, I'm going to be looking to branch out. Maritime history is always going to be part of the channel. That's never going to go away. But I want to explore other things as well. And World War II is such a big, encompassing event. You could talk about it for years before you would cover everything there is to cover about it. Speaking of wars and whatnot, well, I don't think Elvis actually saw active combat, but of course, he was drafted into the army, and there it is, the Private Presley exhibit. Let's see. And yeah, we're going to look at some of his uniforms here. So let's zoom out and go to the next one. History buff, guilty as charged, anything personally. I'm everything. Absolutely. Let's see. So here we go. Private Presley. And let's see, what does this say? Elvis's dress uniform. There you go. All right. I seem to remember him seeing pictures of him in this outfit. Jacket Elvis wore during the Welcome Home press conference. That's why I remember it then. And let's see, Elvis's army jacket given to Priscilla at the airport upon his departure from Germany. He was in Germany from 58 to 60. And let's see. Tan dress army jacket. And what is this big trunk? Trunk Elvis used to ship some of his belongings back to Memphis after serving in the army. Now, I don't remember why this was in the exhibit because these weren't the only ones, but this is obviously Kiss. Mannequins made up to look like Kiss. And there were others as well, but I just thought these were really cool. I forget why this was in there. I mean, Elvis, as far as I know, of course, had no connection to Kiss. Here we go. Here's some of his gold records, and there was a lot more than this. And just another view. Yeah, so that's his gold, just his gold records from 1956 to 59. So 3 years of his career. And this, of course, I had to get a picture of because you guys asked me earlier, what is my favorite Elvis song? It was If I Can Dream. And this is the outfit he wore. This was his 1968 comeback special when he sang If I Can Dream. And this was the outfit he wore. And if you've never watched his performance is just him on a completely dark stage in this white uniform, and his name is like in red light bulbs behind him. And man, when he sings that song, it is coming from here. You know, you can see it, you can feel the passion that he has when he belts out that song. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite songs from him. Yes, talks about the Navy warship during World War II, first destroyer sunk a Japanese with potatoes. Kiss outfits were part of an exhibit on Elvis's influence. Well, that makes sense. And of course, here's we get into a lot of his jumpsuits. Of course, he wore these later in his career, mostly when he was doing the Vegas stuff. Those look like the same ones. These look different. So yeah, let's look through some of these real quick. We're the later in his carrier outfits. Clothes worth millions, absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine how much these things cost individually. So yeah, there we go. Let me see how many photos we have left here to go through. I think we might be getting towards the end. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Yep, we're almost to the end of the photos here. So I timed that perfectly. Let me do something real quick before I do that. Let's see. Sorry, guys, bear with me for 1 second. All right. All right, it just gave out some memberships. Hopefully some of you guys get them. Oh, Wolf got one. I'm gonna have to let Wolf know that he got a membership. Okay. Like I said, I know I've mentioned this before. I usually don't give these out a whole lot because you can't pick who you give them out to. YouTube just randomly picks people, and I hate that. I want to give them out to you guys that are here every week. you, in my opinion, you are the guys. You guys deserve it, not people who are just who don't come and hang out or anything. But whatever. Okay, so going back to the beginning, you can see the wing for the Lisa Marie here on the left, and then you got the smaller plane here on the right. The Lisa Marie, of course, you can go on that one. Yep, and here's a cockpit. This peacock jumpsuit sold for $300,000, most expensive piece of memorabilia sold. Wow. And you see, as you're inside the plane, they've got all of this under, bags or whatever. That way you don't touch anything and mess it up or whatever. Elvis's TV, probably sat back in them chairs right there and watched TV while he was on the, flying from one place to another. And well, yeah, that's the thumbnail that I made for this week. So yeah, those are all the pictures I wanted to show you guys from Graceland. Of course, I do have more photos, but most of the other photos I have, of course, are family are in the photos, and of course, I'm not showing that sort of things on stream. So anyway, that is everything I have for you guys for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at Graceland through my eyes, so to speak. Programming note, I already have next week's topic in mind. Unless anything happens where I can get a guest or something, the tentative plan for next week, you guys better bring your thinking caps with you, because like I said, unless something changes, the topic for next week as of right now is Olympic class trivia. So you better bring your thinking caps. Let's see who's going to know the most about Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. So again, like I said, unless something changes, that's what I'm planning on doing next week. Yep, yay, trivia. Oh, yes. All right. Well, having said all of that, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out as always. I hope you all have a great weekend. And until the next time, you guys know the drill. Kiss my grits.